Hello, everyone. I'm Tanya Rivero. Thank you for joining us. COVID vaccine shots could be available to be administered to millions of school children as soon as next week. An FDA advisory committee endorsed Pfizer's reduced dose vaccine for children ages 5 to 11 on Tuesday. It is expected to receive final approval before the end of the week. Some people hope it is the next step in the fight against coronavirus. CBS's Debra Alfarone is in Washington with more.
Out of 18 voting members, 17 voted yes.
An independent FDA advisory panel voted to authorize a lower dose of the Pfizer COVID vaccine for kids ages 5 to 11. Final approval could come as early as next week, giving parents a decision to make.
Giving parents the option to make that decision for themselves will be something that in history we will be glad that we were able to do.
Catherine Yonioka, a mother of twin 8-year-olds, has determined she has no major concerns with the risks.
It means getting back to normalcy. We've been very careful for the first year because my son has neurological issues. So I'm first in line to get that shot for them.
A CBS News poll showed only about a third of parents are like Yonioka, saying they'll definitely get their kids vaccinated when it is approved for use. The White House says it's planning a public relations campaign to educate parents about the benefits of vaccination. But even some on the FDA panel say they're worried about forcing the vaccine on all children.
I'm just worried that if we say yes, that the states are going to mandate administration of this vaccine to children in order to go to school, and I do not agree with that.
White House officials say they endorse vaccine mandates in schools.
Requirements work, and we support states and school districts taking actions to ensure that everyone who's eligible get vaccinated. But again, those decisions should be made at the state and local level.
The smaller kids' vaccine doses are already being shipped out in anticipation of final approval.
Dr. Stanley Perlman joins me now to talk more about this. He's a professor of microbiology, immunology, and pediatrics at the University of Iowa. He's also a member of the FDA Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee. Dr. Perlman, welcome. So you are a part of the FDA panel that endorsed the Pfizer vaccine for children. Can you tell us what information the panel evaluated to come to this final decision to say yes, kids can and should get the vaccine?
I think the two main pieces of information that we evaluated is first, what is the COVID-19 pandemic meant for children? How many children get sick? Do they transmit the virus to other people? And the second thing is we evaluated data showing efficacy and safety of the proposed Pfizer vaccine. So those are the main things we considered. And this decision was not as straightforward for many people as was the initial approval of vaccines for many of the issues that have been publicized. Children don't get as sick with the vaccine, but some do and some die. And the number of children who die from this in the 5 to age group is very similar to the number who die from flu, where we do have a vaccine and a vaccine mandate in some cases. We also know that the vaccine safety was very high. There are some possible longer-term vaccine complications that we did not see at all in the initial presentation, but they may not be seen because they're very infrequent. So, and then safety was very good. Again, children don't get sick. So in this trial that we saw, no children died, no children were very ill, but the vaccine was completely or 90% efficacious in preventing disease. So these are all the things that we put together, recognizing that this was a fairly controversial decision, as your last piece of information showed.
Right. Of course, you took all that into consideration. I think it's interesting that you sort of put it up against the flu, which, as you mentioned, we have a vaccine for children for the flu. Are there a lot of similarities between the way the coronavirus presents itself in children and the way the flu does?
Well, the flu is more contagious in children than COVID-19 is. We don't really have a full picture of how contagious SARS-CoV-2 is. Most studies show that it's not as contagious as it is in older people, but there are other studies that show that it is contagious. There are also some studies that show that schools are not a major source of the infection, but this is also really still a work in progress, trying to sort this out exactly. And of course, the difference, one of the things we really worry about here is SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19 is very it's a big problem for people who are older, over 75 or over 80 years of age. So for these people, we do not want a child around them who could potentially infect them. So that's another side effect. For the child themselves, because the risk of serious disease is so low, this is where the controversy lies.
Right.
If the risk is so low and the side effects are not zero, I think they're also very low, then one has to weigh what's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. And so, doctor, what do you then recommend for kids who are 11 but maybe turning 12 in just a few months? Should these kids wait and receive the adult dosage when they turn 12, or do you think, there's no time to hesitate once this is approved?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, one I've thought about. And I don't know what I would do personally. I would probably have a child like that become vaccinated. If the child was going to turn 12 in a month, I might wait. We don't really know that 10 is worse than 30 micrograms, which is what the adult dosage is in terms of preventing COVID-19 and inducing a good immune response. So I think it would be a decision that as a parent, I would make, thinking about it in a consultation with my healthcare provider. Because I don't think there's really a right answer there.
Well,
Unless a
let me ask
child,
you something.
there's one possibility. If a child does have risk factors for more severe disease, then I would go ahead and get the vaccine now.
Well, let me ask you something, though. What else would you consider if you were a parent with a child in that position? Because let's say you have a child who is almost 12 and is going through puberty and looks like almost an adolescent. That age range, you can see children who are very, very small and children who are almost look like adults. So does that have any bearing on the decision for a parent as how big your child physically is?
Yeah, it might on the surface, but I don't really know because there's so many factors in how well a child responds to the vaccine. And as I said, we don't even know that 10 is significantly different than 30. We know that comparing the Moderna vaccine, which had 100 micrograms, to the Pfizer, which had 30, there was some difference in immunogenicity, but we have no information about this in this age group. So that's why it's a tough call. Right,
that is a tough call. All right, so Doctor, many parents are probably going to have questions about what to expect when their children actually go in for the shots. The 2-dose Pfizer shots for adults were given a few weeks apart, and some recipients had flu-like symptoms after getting the vaccine, although some didn't. I didn't have any symptoms at all. Can the same timeline and symptoms be expected for children?
I think so. I think the preliminary data say that they're going to be very similar to what we saw with older people who received the vaccine. Of course, as you get very old, then the amount of complications goes down. But I think it's going to be within the range of what we see in adults.
All right. Well, Dr. Stanley Perlman, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.